today, in honor of All Hallows Eve, you're going to see many demos demonstrating the magic of chemistry. The second demo I'm going to show you is this magic liquid here. Now, only because we have black lights in the room can you see the true effect of what this liquid is. Does anyone want to take a guess at what this is? You all used it, hopefully. This is laundry detergent. Watch. Under the black light, look at laundry detergent. Now they put special chemicals in laundry detergent that absorb ultraviolet light, which is the light that a black light gives off. And when they absorb the ultraviolet light, they give it back as visible light. So why would a laundry detergent want to have a chemical that absorbs ultraviolet light and emits it as white light? If you have a white shirt, look down. If you have anything white, look at the white on your clothes. It's glowing. What do all laundry detergents claim to do to white clothes? Whiter than white. Because not only do they reflect the light that hits them, but they also emit their own light. So they are, in fact, whiter than white. Another one is this. Glow-in-the-dark ceiling string contains these chemicals called phosphors, which absorb light that we can't see and emit it as light that we can see. Okay, so a lot of things that glow in the dark contain phosphors. Now, the next demo. You just saw that these chemicals, that laundry detergent and silly string emits light once light hits it, but some things can give off their own light without needing any help. An example of these two chemicals here, when they're mixed together, these exhibit a property called luminescence, which is different than phosphorescence. Luminescence, the light is produced from these two chemicals, which by themselves don't give off light. But when mixed, energy is released in the form of light. Now you might be saying, well wait, maybe it's because of the black lights that light is given off. So Annie, could you hit the black light, the switch? It's hanging about halfway down the wall. Okay. So maybe it's the black lights. So maybe these are absorbing light from the black lights and re-emitting it like the laundry detergent was, but they're not. Let's see. So cool. Luminol A and luminol B. You found out why the skeleton. This isn't a haunted demo, but I thought I would throw this in because it's very interesting. This is water, and inside the water, what's giving it a blue color is something called an indicator. And we haven't gotten to this yet, but an indicator tells you whether you have an acid or a base. Okay, we're going to learn the difference between acids and bases. But blue means base. Okay, now watch this. We're going to drop in ever so gently. That was gentle. Some carbon dioxide. Now some dry ice. Now what's this gas here? This is carbon dioxide. And what's going to happen is as this bubbles through the water, it reacts with the water and forms something called carbonic acid. It's the same acid that's in your pot. And you're going to see the indicator change color as the water becomes more and more saturated with this acid, and it becomes more acidic. You should see a progression as the indicator While this is going, Mrs. Kralik and I on our tour of Europe in Sweden, in Lithuania. Where else did we go?
Germany.
Germany. We stopped. Where? Luxembourg. Didn't we make a detour to India? Did we go to India? India, not Indiana. Okay.
But that you're about to talk about is in Scotland.
This was Scotland?
Yeah.
Alright, let's check.
We had a good night.
You can see it's starting to change a little bit. We stopped at this pub called the Dragon Scale And at the Dragon Scale pub, it turned out that this was a place where they used to slay dragons. I don't know why. What was it? I don't know. But anyways, they would slay dragons and they would scrape the scales off the dragons. And they serve a sandwich now that they grind up the scales and put them into the meat. And it's called a Dragon Scale sandwich. So Mrs. Craig and I split one because we're trying to watch her weight. And we both woke up this morning like indigestion. And I realized as I was walking through my apartment kind of exhaling, like all the plants and stuff in my apartment were just like wilting. So I did like a self-breath check and I like went unconscious for 5 minutes. My breath was just terrible from the Dragon Scale sandwich, and you can see how bad it is. Now, wasn't magic there. It's the same idea that's going on in here. Every time you guys take a breath out, every time you exhale, okay, you're exhaling carbon dioxide, and when carbon dioxide mixes with water, it turns into an acid. So we have the indicator in there, and you can see the indicator turn yellow, which indicates the water is now acidic. Just by breathing into the water, I turned it acidic. I had an alto today, so I think my breath. That's it. And that's eventually what should happen here. Now, if you notice the carbon dioxide gas spilling off the top of this, we talked about density in my class. Would you say the carbon dioxide is more dense or less dense than the surrounding air in the room? And what's the clue that's more dense? Yeah, it comes up and then goes right down. And there's a story about in the 70s there was a pond in Africa, and there was a huge bubble of carbon dioxide gas from decaying plants. And for some reason the bubble just kept getting bigger and bigger, but it stayed under the pond. The surface was a lake. And eventually the bubble burst, and the carbon dioxide spread over the land. And since it was less dense than the air, it settled above the ground, and over 1,400 people died from suffocation because as the carbon dioxide sank, it pushed the air that could breathe up, and the people who were only breathing carbon dioxide, they suffocated from this. Okay, so carbon dioxide is much more dense than air, and it will sink anytime it's placed in there. So that's what's going on. That's true.
It was like in Lake Shannon.
Yeah, it was Niger, I think.
Around the border with it.
Yeah. That's the permanganate? So what, is this it? Now Mrs. Craig and I were in was it Hamburg?
Yeah.
Hamburg, we're in Germany, and we're in a castle, and we were talking to this old wizard who was just like sitting on the front porch of the castle on the swing, and we went up to him and we were talking to him, and he told us that they actually, a big problem in these old castles isn't roaches or like mice, it's bats flying around. There's like so many of them that they usually call it bat exterminator. So the wizards decided to take matters into their own hands, and they came up with this special brew called fire brew, and they use this to eliminate the bats. And we're going to show you how it works. So we have the lights, please, so you can get a good picture of this. So you take a little bit of the fire brew, the wizards do, and they put their hands in this secret liquid here, and go ahead. Since we're not wizards, we can't light it with fireballs from our eyes, so we use an aiming flame. Okay? And you can see they fling these at the bats, and the bats are dead. And of course, when you fire a fireball at a bat, there's pieces of flaming bat lying around on the floor. So what the wizards do is they take the flying bat and they just throw it into their cauldron and mix it with, what was it? It was, I always forget this one.
Salamander tongue.
No, was it?
Yes.
Oh, it was?
Salamander.
Was it the eye of the...
Eye of an ogre and salamander.
So they mix with the eye of an ogre and the salamander tongue, and they get the cauldron going. Okay, and then this is where the magic comes from. And one of the tricks they showed us, lights on? One of the tricks they showed us, once they get the cauldron going nice and good, really going, they showed us a levitation trick. So they'll take something ordinary like bubbles, which sink when you blow them just in the room, in the air, and then blow them into their cauldron, and they cast a spell on the bubbles. What was the spell? It was like Shazam or Shazam?
Abracadabra.
Okay, abracadabra. You might have to stand up to see this, but the bubbles will actually float on the. The bubbles are actually floating. You can see they float on the. Now, why would they be floating? Aside from the magical spell, why are they floating on the carbon dioxide? So, what did we just say about carbon dioxide's density? It's denser in air, so when I blow into this, what's in the bubble is less dense than this, so it'll float, just like wood floats in water. Okay? Tongue of giant?
Tongue of giant.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Do you remember the joke the vampires told us, Mrs. Crayley?
I don't. Will you tell me?
Two vampires go.
Oh.
You get a special powder from the wizards in Sweden that they use to light up their castles. And they also use this to cast curses. And you can see. You can see that when the powder is thrown on the flame, causes it to basically you're causing the powder to catch on fire. Guess what dangerous, terrible, flammable chemical this is? Flour. This is flour. Did I say flour? No, this is flour. Anything, any powder can be explosive like that if the pieces are small enough. Okay, now flour just sitting on the table is not gonna, you put a match on it, nothing will happen because it's concentrated, it doesn't have a lot of space. But if you throw it and it's a fine powder, there's a lot more space there, it's spread out, which enables the energy to be distributed more evenly and it can catch on fire. Now, you guys are maybe too young to remember, but there were certain farms that had big grain silos. Do you guys know what a big grain silo is? Yeah. It's the big, tall, cylindrical structures on the farms. And they would store their corn in there. And corn, after a while, if you grind up corn, it turns into corn dust. And the silo, the top part where there wasn't any corn, would fill up with this fine corn powder. And as the summer went on in these grain silos, which are mostly made up, here we go. Was it a flame? There we go. Now, we haven't learned this yet, but there's a reason it's a purple flame. Every element gives off its own color when it burns. Potassium, since this is potassium permanganate, also known as the total of the giant, this potassium also gives off a purple flame. So you can see there that the purple was due to the potassium. Sodium, which is in sodium lamps that are on the streets that you walk down, gives off what color? Yellow. Yeah, that's why those glow yellow, and there's sodium vapor in them, which gives off a yellow glow. Okay, now back to the story of this. The grain silos would fill up with this corn dust. And as the summer came and the sun was beating down on these aluminum structures, which absorbed heat, got incredibly hot. The same thing that happened here, when I threw the flour on the flame, happened on a much greater scale. When you've got 500,000 pounds of corn, you can imagine the size of the explosion, and these corn silage would go off. Kaboom! Acres were destroyed. Okay, by these things. Corns everywhere. Okay, so that is true. That did happen. Have the light, please. We were traveling through Scotland, and we wanted to stop and see Loch Ness, which you guys have heard of, the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that Loch Ness is famous for two things. One, it's famous for that little monster that lives in it. But the main reason most people don't know is that Loch Ness, actually the water in Loch Ness, is the water that dragons drink to get their fire breath. It's got something in it, and Mrs. Kralik and I snuck through because they have guards surrounding this, so no one could just go and grab this fire water. That's what the locals call it. They're real creative. Fire water. Okay? We had a bubble solution, and we were pretending to blow bubbles, and we scooped out and got some, and we brought it back. Okay, so even though it looks like bubble solution, this is water
It's a secret label.
from Loch Ness. Yeah, we had to throw off the Scottish yard authorities. They were coming for us. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of the fire water. Lights, please. And you can see that it bubbles when out of the container. It bubbles up like this. So this is dragons drink this. This is why dragons have such bad halitosis.
Wow.
Okay, now the little kids around Loch Ness, they play this game. Let's see if we can do it. This is great. I know, we're not very good at it, but we're trying.
Because we didn't grow up in Scotland.
We didn't grow up in Scotland, but if we did, we'd be good at it. And the game is, they take a little bit of the fire water, and they try to get. Try one more. The little Scottish laddies and lasses are doing this all the time. Laddies, yes. Laddies and lasses. Okay, here we go. Ahoy! Oh! All right, no more. That's easy.
Yep.
Today is the Mars Day.
Yes.
Moment of silence for Bob. Silence for Bob. Okay.